The scenario, a conscious moment. Imagine a scenario where the awakened one is meditating in a quiet room. A single, distinct sound, a bird chirping outside the window, briefly intrudes on the silence. The brain must now process this event and integrate it into a conscious experience. The Trillium model components influence how quickly and fully this happens. Reflective wave, RW equals sign 0. The individual is in a state of deep focus, so there's no pre-existing memory or reflection interfering with the immediate perception. The value remains 0. Consciousness filter, CF equals sign -1. The individual's focused state acts as a filter, and the brain initially suppresses the external stimulus to maintain the meditative state. This is a negative value representing an initial resistance to the sensory input. Probabilistic landscape, PL equals sign +1. The brain's underlying predictive processing is always active, making it highly probable that some external event, like a sound, will occur. This readiness to perceive the external world is a positive influence. Mental MT equals sign 1/4. The mental component is low because the mind is quieted during meditation. Visual, VZ equals sign 1/2. The eyes are closed, but there is still some baseline visual, a unified theory. The Trillium model, quantum physics, and the nature of empathy. Author, Andre Smith. Abstract. This paper introduces the Trillium model, a conceptual framework developed by the author to understand the dynamic interplay between an individual's past experiences, present conscious awareness, and the myriad of future possibilities. The model posits 3 interconnected components: the reflective wave, past, the consciousness filter, present, and the probabilistic landscape, future. This paper will detail each component, explore inherent dualities within the model, and delve into the crucial role of qualia, the subjective felt qualities of experience, as the fundamental substance flowing through the model. Furthermore, a novel visual interpretation of the model will be presented, drawing parallels to the double-slit experiment to illuminate its dynamic principles. We will then explore the model's application in explaining both the profound implications of quantum physics and the intricacies of human empathy. Finally, practical applications for integrating the Trillium model into daily life will be discussed, demonstrating its potential for enhancing self-awareness, decision-making, and overall well-being. Introduction. The radical hypothesis. The nature of reality, the essence of consciousness, and the extent of free will are questions that have captivated humanity for millennia. From ancient philosophical debates to cutting-edge quantum physics, our understanding continues to evolve, often leading to more profound questions than answers. This paper introduces the Trillium model, a framework conceived and developed by the author, as a potential key to understanding this intricate relationship. The Trillium model is here proposed not as a mere metaphor, but as a potential reflection of fundamental principles operating at the level of conscious experience. I hypothesize that the Trillium model, specifically its central component, the consciousness filter, acts as a nexus where past influences meet future potentials. I argue that the wave function of potential realities within the Trillium model's probabilistic landscape, conceptually analogous to quantum systems, is continually being navigated and influenced by conscious choices made in the present. This conscious selection, influenced by the integrated mental, physical, emotional, and visual states within the consciousness filter, determines which branch of reality we experience. This integrated framework carries profound implications for our understanding of existence itself, offering a new lens through which to view consciousness, free will, and the very fabric of reality. 2. The Seraphim field, the universal dream source. The Seraphim field is defined as the fundamental conscious ground of being. It is a metaphysical concept suggesting an individuating essence of all beings and becomings in the universe, often described as a universal entity or pure consciousness. 1. It represents the infinite potential, acting as a cosmic server or universal consciousness from which all things emerge. This field is the source of all potential data and possible realities. The quantum cluster concept describes this as a dynamic form of potentiality, where particles oscillate between wave and particle modalities, existing as pure energetic potentiality. 2. This field is the active, intelligent medium responsible for projecting the simulation we experience as reality. The seraphim themselves are described as a group of angels who resonate at a very high frequency of spiritual energy, radiating a constant outpouring of divine love, and providing incredibly pure and focused access to higher consciousness. Their presence is said to strip reality bare, revealing its purest essence, the divine essence of God. The seraphim field is a conceptual name for the luminous field hypothesized to surround and animate conscious beings, potentially serving as the medium through which life and soul interact with the body, encoding memory, direction, and intention in frequency. B. Its role in creation is to house all potential data and possible realities, serving as the source from which our perceived world is rendered. This aligns with the concept of a universal information field, such as the Akashic records, which are believed to contain every thought, emotion, and action of every living being, past, present, and future, influencing the unfolding of events. The Akashic records are described as a universal memory bank, a metaphysical archive eternally preserving the fabric of reality, accessible through elevated states of consciousness or spiritual practices. This primordial substrate permeates all existence, and may resolve some of science's biggest mysteries. The most ancient written field theory of global consciousness, from the Vedic rishis of ancient India, taught that an all-encompassing field of pure consciousness exists as a universal self, Atman or Brahman, which is the sole cause of all physical phenomena and includes all individual human consciousnesses. This concept of a universal consciousness is the source that underlies interactions and the awareness and knowledge they imply. The zero-point field, ZPF, is also described as an all-pervasive electromagnetic background field, a formless sea of consciousness that carries an enormous range of phenomenal nuances from which conscious systems acquire their phenomenal qualities. Consciousness, in this model, is not confined to complex biological systems, but is immanent to the quantum field and therefore to the quantum cluster. The concept of universality, often assumed in physics, posits that the fundamental laws of nature are consistent and apply equally everywhere in the universe and remain constant over time, suggesting that consciousness, as a natural phenomenon, could manifest in any physical system satisfying certain conditions. 3. The Trillium model, a conceptual framework. The Trillium model, developed by Andre Smith, is comprised of three interconnected, dynamically interacting components: the reflective wave, the consciousness filter, and the probabilistic landscape. A. The reflective wave, our past. The reflective wave represents the cumulative experiences that shape our identity and worldview. It is a complex, ever-evolving repository of personal history, functioning as the primary source of influence on our present consciousness. Memory. Our past experiences are intricately stored in memory, forming a vast network of information that profoundly influences our perception of the present and our expectations for the future. Emotions. Emotional responses to past events, both positive and negative, are deeply embedded within the reflective wave. These stored emotional charges shape our personality, influence our automatic reactions, and contribute significantly to our current emotional baseline. Learned behaviors, habits, conditioned responses, and ingrained patterns of thought and action are formed through repeated past experiences. These learned behaviors, often operating outside of immediate conscious awareness, exert a significant influence on our automatic actions and decision-making processes. B. The consciousness filter, the present moment. The consciousness filter is the active lens through which we perceive, interpret, and interact with the world in the now. It is the nexus of our immediate awareness and the primary point of conscious agency. This filter is dynamically influenced by our integrated physical, emotional, mental, and visual states. Perception. How we interpret raw sensory information is not objective. It is uniquely shaped by our past experiences, reflective wave, and our current internal state. This filtering process determines what we attend to and how we make sense of it. This aligns with constructivist theories of perception, which argue that the mind actively constructs and interprets the world based on prior knowledge, experiences, and expectations. Choice. Decisions, both large and small, are made through the consciousness filter. These choices are a complex outcome influenced by the patterns and biases from the reflective wave, as well as the perceived possibilities and anticipated outcomes from the probabilistic landscape. Focus. Our attention and awareness are directed by the consciousness filter. This active direction of focus determines what aspects of our environment and internal landscape we consciously perceive and what information we inadvertently overlook or suppress. C. The probabilistic landscape, the future. The probabilistic landscape represents the multitude of potential futures that exist at any given moment. It fundamentally acknowledges the inherent uncertainty of life and underscores the profound influence of our present choices in shaping what emerges. Quantum analogies. The future, in its state of multiple possibilities, can be conceptually understood as analogous to a wave function in quantum mechanics, where various potential states or outcomes exist simultaneously until a specific realization occurs. This provides a conceptual framework for the inherent fluidity of the future. The quantum cluster concept further describes this as a dynamic form of potentiality where particles oscillate between wave and particle modalities, existing as pure energetic potentiality. Free will and realization. Within this landscape of potentials, our conscious choices, mediated by the consciousness filter, play a critical role. In a manner conceptually similar to how an observer's interaction can influence a quantum system, our choices contribute to the realization of a specific outcome from this vast array of possibilities. This highlights the locus of free will within the model. The role of consciousness in navigation, the surf wave analogy. Our perception and choices, actively mediated by the consciousness filter, are not passive. They continuously interact with and navigate the probabilistic landscape, influencing which potential future branches become our lived reality. This dynamic engagement can be conceptualized as standing at a neutral point within the current moment, the present, aware of our current state and the specific problem or situation at hand. The inherent property of potential outcomes, much like a powerful surf wave, occurs in this present current. We are riding the wave forward, actively influencing and shaping the unfolding future through our choices. While seeing it collapse behind you signifies that past possibilities are now actualized realities, our conscious awareness allows us to continue riding the actual wave inside the tunnel of the present moment, experiencing the unfolding reality while simultaneously influencing what lies ahead. This implies an active, engaged stance. We cannot merely ride the top of the wave passively, but our integrated mental, physical, visual, and emotional states within the consciousness filter enable us to perceive and connect to the surf possibility of various waves within the probabilistic landscape. This allows us to hop to another wave, make a significant shift in direction or focus based on a changed internal state and a newly perceived set of possibilities, or catch a bigger wave, align with a more impactful or expansive probabilistic outcome by recognizing and leveraging its potential. I4. The Trillium model, a dynamic visual interpretation, Figure 4. The Trillium model provides a robust lens through which to understand the profound implications of quantum physics, particularly the observer effect, and the notion that reality is not fixed until observed. The model's visual interpretation, Figure 4, powerfully visualizes the dynamic interplay at the heart of the Trillium model, drawing clear parallels to the quantum phenomena observed in the double-slit experiment. The illustration depicts a central wheel or disk divided vertically into two halves, a blue side representing the past, -1, and a red side representing the future, +1. The central vertical line and the 0 inches in the middle represent the present. This entire structure acts as a dynamic system, continuously influenced by and influencing its own state. A, the present, 0, and the consciousness filter, the observer, Trillium model. Connection. This present 0 directly embodies the consciousness filter. Just as in the Trillium model, the consciousness filter is the lens of perception, the active interface between the individual and their environment. It's the point of active observation, interpretation, and decision-making. This aligns with the philosophical view that consciousness acts as an interface, providing a means of interaction between bodily states and the external world, enabling goal-directed action. Double-slit experiment. Analogy. In the double-slit experiment, the act of observation or measurement at the slits or the detection screen is what causes the wave function to collapse from a superposition of possibilities into a definite particle state. Your present 0 is analogous to this point of observation. It's where the wave of past influences and future possibilities is observed or experienced into a particular reality. Without an observer, the consciousness filter, the past and future remain in a state of probability or wave-like influence. The images of the double-slit experiment visually demonstrate how a wave source emits waves that pass through slits and create an interference pattern on a screen. But when a detector is introduced, the wave behavior collapses to particle behavior. B. The past, -1, and the reflective wave, the incoming wave, Trillium model connection. This blue half represents the reflective wave. It is the accumulated imprint of the past, memories, experiences, learned behaviors, genetic predispositions, cultural imprints. The inward-pointing blue arrows clearly show how this past continuously flows into and informs the present, consciousness filter. The reflective wave isn't static, it's a dynamic current of influence. Double slit experiment. Analogy. Consider the particles being fired toward the double slits as a wave function originating from the past, the source. Before observation, these particles behave as waves carrying the information or potential of their past trajectory. The blue arrows represent this incoming wave of historical information and influence that fundamentally shapes how the present, zero, the consciousness filter, operates. Just as the particles are already carrying certain properties from their past, their origin, our consciousness filter is preconditioned by our reflective wave. C. The future, +1, and the probabilistic landscape, the outgoing possibilities. Trillium model. Connection. This red half embodies the probabilistic landscape, the realm of multiple potential futures. The outward-pointing red arrows show how the choices and perceptions made in the present, via the consciousness filter, are actively shaping and influencing which possibilities within this landscape gain prominence or become more likely. The probabilistic landscape is not predetermined, it's a dynamic field of potentials that are influenced by the present. Double slit experiment analogy. After passing through the slits, the particle's wave function spreads out into a superposition of possibilities on the screen, creating an interference pattern. This spreading wave of potential outcomes is analogous to your future +1 side. The observation in the present, the consciousness filter, collapses this wave of potential, leading to a specific outcome, much like a particle finally hitting a specific spot on the detector screen. The large red arrows represent the spreading out of our influence, our choices, and our intentions into the realm of possibilities, influencing the probabilities within that landscape. The black arrow curving back represents the actualization of a particular future, which then becomes part of the past as the wheel continues to turn. D. The central hub and spokes, interconnectedness and dynamics. Trillium model connection. This represents the intricate feedback loops and nonlinear dynamics within the Trillium model. Double slit experiment. Analogy. The continuous motion of the wheel and the interplay of forces, arrows, reflect the dynamic nature of quantum systems. The system isn't static, there's a constant interaction between the initial wave, past potential, the measurement, present observation, and the resulting definite state, actualized future. V. The Trillium model and duality, a conceptual exploration. Duality is a concept that suggests the existence of opposing or contrasting forces or principles. While the Trillium model does not explicitly address duality, it can be interpreted through a lens of inherent dualities that illuminate its complexities and nuances. This aligns with philosophical dualism, which explores the relationship between the physical body and the non-physical mind or soul. Past and future, the duality of certainty and uncertainty, consciousness and the unconscious, the duality of awareness and automaticity, free will and determinism, the duality of agency and constraint, knowledge and ignorance, the duality of understanding and exploration, CI. This step determines the actual duration of the conscious event, measured in Planck time. The formula is T, CI, =frac 1, 1/2, times 5.39 times 10 circumflex minus 44, text. T, CI, =1.078 times 10 circumflex minus 43 in text. The time it takes for the awakened one's brain to consciously process the bird's chirp is 1.078 times 10 circumflex minus 43 seconds. In summary, this scenario illustrates how the abstract values of the Trillium model can be combined into a mathematical formula to produce a concrete, although hypothetical, answer. It shows that even in a state of deep focus, where the mind is trying to filter out distractions, CF =(-1), a strong emotional response, EM =(3/4), and a background readiness to perceive the world, PL +1, can create a scenario where an event has a clear probabilistic chance of being noticed. The final result, 1.078 times 10 circumflex, minus 43 seconds, is a single, quantifiable moment of conscious integration measured in the smallest possible unit of time. The Trillium model proposes a framework inspired by quantum mechanics, suggesting that our observations and intentions can significantly influence the probability landscape of potential outcomes. By integrating concepts such as entanglement, superposition, and the many worlds theory, this model offers a novel perspective on the nature of reality and our role within it. At its core, the Trillium model asserts that consciousness plays a pivotal role in collapsing probabilities into definitive outcomes, thereby shaping the reality we experience. Further investigation and development of this model could yield deeper insights into the fundamental laws that govern reality. A pertinent question that arises from this model is how one can create one's own reality through an understanding of one's mental, physical, visual, and emotional states. Specifically, how can an individual assess the probability landscape and identify different outcomes? Given the entanglement of the many worlds theory, what strategies might allow one to navigate toward a preferred probability? To effectively apply the principles of the Trillium model as a means of intentionally shaping one's reality, it is essential to leverage consciousness in a way that facilitates the transition to a desired probability. This involves reframing thoughts and emotions to align with specific outcomes. By vividly visualizing and emotionally resonating with the new probability, an individual may be able to shift their consciousness toward that reality. This process can be likened to tuning into a different frequency, where focused intention becomes a catalyst for transformative change. Furthermore, it is important to explore how visual aspects can be employed to perceive the probability landscape and to visualize various outcomes before they unfold. Recognizing that free will plays a critical role in this non-deterministic world, we must inquire how to assess which probability we are navigating. Does the process of creating a probability occur in real time, using mental, physical, and visual capabilities, ensuring that it does not collapse into competing outcomes while remaining in a state of superposition? The Trillium model is a theoretical framework introduced by physicist Andre Smith. This model aims to provide insights into the intricate relationships between our past, present, and potential futures. By challenging the conventional linear understanding of time, the Trillium model invites a deeper exploration of how these temporal dimensions interact and influence one another. Deeper exploration of how these temporal dimensions interact and influence one another. It integrates the profound impact of human qualities like empathy and intention on the very fabric of our reality, and how our mental, physical, visual, and emotional concepts help create this reality and the quality of our experience within it. The Trillium model specifically addresses the domain of consciousness and reality, presenting a theoretical framework for understanding how our internal states and intentions shape our perceived world and future possibilities. Its objective is to provide a universal understanding of these dynamics, applicable to individual experience and broader human interaction. This emphasis on universality suggests a profound theoretical ambition, aiming to identify core domain-agnostic principles that underpin how our consciousness operates within any system, and how our mental, physical, visual, and emotional concepts contribute to the creation of our experienced reality. The central hypothesis of the Trillium model asserts that the quality of our experience, how positive, neutral, or negative our mental, physical, visual, and emotional states are, is a direct result of a dynamic interplay between our past, present, and potential futures, mediated by our empathy and good intentions. To conceptualize this interplay, the model introduces a scale, similar to an integer number line with 0 in the middle. -1, this represents the reflective wave, our past. 0, this represents the consciousness filter, our present. +1, this represents the probabilistic landscape, our future. It is crucial to understand that this -1, 0, +1 scale has nothing to do with negative or positive emotions or values in itself. It is purely a conceptual mapping of the components of the Trillium model to a numerical line for understanding their sequential progression and relationship. The reflective wave occurs at -1 on this line to signify it comes before the consciousness filter, which is at 0, and the probabilistic landscape, which is at +1. It's about their sequential flow within the model, not an emotional judgment. The model posits that optimal outcomes in our experience are achieved when there is a synergistic balance and continuous feedback among these three components, driven by empathy and good intentions. This intricate balance is deemed critical for fostering adaptability and positive progression within the inherently fluid process of conscious experience, thereby influencing the mental, physical, visual, and emotional reality we create. The Trillium model is fundamentally structured around three distinct yet interdependent core elements, drawing its name from the Trillium flower's three-part structure to symbolize this essential interdependence. These elements, the reflective wave, consciousness filter, and probabilistic landscape, each represent a critical aspect of our conscious experience, and their harmonious interaction is central to the model's theoretical framework. The reflective wave, -1, echoes of the past, setting the stage. Definition: this is the cumulative influence of all past experiences, individual memories, learned behaviors, cultural narratives, and inherited philosophies. It sits at -1 on our conceptual scale to signify it is the preceding state, the past. It is not a static archive but an active feedback loop. The way we've processed past interactions, successes, and failures, especially through the lens of empathy and good intention, profoundly impacts the foundational quality of our internal being, influencing our mental, physical, visual, and emotional predispositions. Negative experience, past traumas, unresolved grudges, or moments of profound interpersonal discord, if held onto without empathetic processing or an intention to learn and release, leave a negative residue. This means the content of that past experience was negative, and it can contribute to cynicism, mental, bitterness, emotional, or chronic tension, physical, that colors your present perception. Neutral experience. Past experiences are acknowledged factually, without significant emotional charge or transformative reflection. There might be intellectual learning, but it lacks the power to truly uplift or depress your current state. Positive experience. This is where empathy and good intention become truly transformative. By processing past events, even challenging ones, with self-compassion and an intention to learn, grow, and forgive, we transform them. Acts of kindness received or given, moments of genuine connection, and lessons learned from past mistakes, when viewed with an intention for positive growth, create a positive quality from the past experience. The consciousness filter, 0, perceiving the present, manifesting quality. Definition: this component sits at 0 on our conceptual scale, signifying the current state of being, the now. It is your subjective interpretation of reality right now, shaped by your current mental, physical, visual, and emotional state. This is the live interface where the lessons from your reflective wave are applied, and where your prevailing state of empathy and the intentions you carry directly determine the quality of your immediate experience across all dimensions, thereby creating your present reality. Negative present experience: if your consciousness filter is operating with a lack of empathy, for example, self-absorption, rigid judgment, or negative intentions, e.g., resentment, desire to control, you will perceive reality as hostile, threatening, or frustrating. This manifests mentally, biased interpretations, emotionally, stress, anger, physically, tension, fatigue, and visually, a perceived bleak or chaotic environment. Neutral present experience. Your consciousness filter operates with basic awareness but without deep empathetic engagement or a clear, strong, positive intention. Reality is perceived factually, but it lacks vibrancy or profound connection. This manifests mentally, superficial observations, emotionally, indifference, physically, basic functioning, and visually, a mundane or unremarkable perception of surroundings. Positive present experience. When your consciousness filter is truly infused with deep empathy and good intentions, when you genuinely seek to understand, connect, and contribute positively, you will perceive richness, beauty, and opportunity. This leads to a vibrant, fulfilling present experience manifesting mentally, insightful understanding, emotionally, joy, compassion, physically, vitality, well-being, and visually, a perceived vibrant or harmonious environment, and contributing to a positive experienced reality. The probabilistic landscape, +1, shaping the future, influencing probabilities. Definition: this component sits at +1 on our conceptual scale, signifying the future, the potential that lies ahead. It represents the vast multitude of potential futures that exist at any given moment, acknowledging inherent uncertainty. Crucially, it emphasizes the powerful role of our choices. The choices we make, which flow directly from our consciousness filter, are profoundly influenced by our empathy and the intentions we hold. These choices, in turn, determine the likelihood, the probability, of a future leaning towards negative, neutral, or positive outcomes, thereby shaping the reality that is yet to emerge. Higher probability of negative futures. Choices made from a consciousness filter lacking empathy or driven by negative intentions, for example, selfishness, anger, desire for control, significantly increase the probability of future conflict, isolation, and negative consequences across mental, physical, visual, and emotional dimensions. Higher probability of neutral futures. Choices made without deep empathetic consideration or strong positive intention tend to lead to futures that are bland, uninspired, or simply more of the same, lacking significant growth or profound connection across mental, physical, visual, and emotional dimensions. Higher probability of positive futures. Choices born from deep empathy and good intentions, acts of cooperation, compassion, integrity, or thoughtful innovation significantly increase the probability of future harmony, well-being, growth, and flourishing connections across mental, physical, visual, and emotional dimensions. The very analogy of the Trillium flower is central to grasping the model's core principle. Each of its three parts is distinct yet indispensable for the integrity and flourishing of the whole. This powerful metaphor underscores the profound and non-negotiable interdependence of the three elements. The model theorizes that a deficiency in any single element will significantly hinder the process of conscious experience and manifestation, reinforcing the critical notion that all three components must be adequately present and functioning in concert for a positive quality of experience and the creation of a desired reality. This framework explains why individuals might feel stuck or experience recurring negative patterns, attributing such outcomes not merely to external circumstances, but also to inadequate processing of the past, a limited present perception, or a lack of intentional future shaping, impacting their mental, physical, visual, and emotional states. To further clarify the foundational elements of the Trillium model, the following table provides a concise overview of each component, its definition, and its conceptual position on the -1, 0, +1 scale. Reflective wave, -1, past, the cumulative influence of all past experiences, memories, learned behaviors, and inherited philosophies. Consciousness, filter, 0, present, the subjective interpretation of reality shaped by current mental, physical, visual, and emotional state, and influenced by empathy and intentions. Probabilistic landscape, +1, future, the multitude of potential futures, acknowledging uncertainty and the role of choices influenced by empathy and good intentions. This table serves as a valuable reference point, enhancing comprehension by consolidating definitions and their conceptual positions, even while emphasizing their profound interdependence. Such a structured presentation is crucial for understanding the complex interactions and feedback loops that are central to the Trillium model's overarching hypothesis. The Trillium model, as conceived by Dr. Andre Smith, implicitly positions itself within broader philosophical and psychological theories by highlighting its distinct approach to consciousness and reality. While the available information does not explicitly name specific theoretical antecedents, it provides clear indications of the theoretical perspectives the Trillium model challenges or integrates. The model implicitly challenges traditional linear innovation models, for example, idea-to-market pipelines, by emphasizing constant interaction and adaptation. This concept, when applied to consciousness, represents a significant theoretical departure from sequential, cause-and-effect approaches to personal development or destiny. The model specifically cautions that neglecting feedback from market validation early on can lead to resource waste on unviable ideas, which, in the context of consciousness, translates to the idea that ignoring lessons from the past, reflective wave, or failing to engage empathetically in the present, consciousness filter, can lead to a future, probabilistic landscape that is not aligned with one's highest intentions. By explicitly rejecting linear models of personal progression, the Trillium model aligns itself with more contemporary, fluid, and iterative paradigms of self-creation and reality shaping, emphasizing how our mental, physical, visual, and emotional concepts contribute to this non-linear creation of reality. The Trillium model is described as distinct from models that focus solely on internal R&D capabilities or market-driven approaches by advocating for an integrated, holistic perspective on innovation drivers. In the context of consciousness, this indicates that its theoretical contribution lies in synthesizing previously disparate or siloed perspectives on human experience. It moves beyond models that might focus only on internal psychological states or external environmental influences, advocating for a unified view. The model's integrated, holistic perspective implies a theoretical attempt to bridge the historical gap between internal subjective experience and external objective reality. By integrating both, the Trillium model recognizes that neither is sufficient on its own. It aims to explain conscious experience as an emergent property of the dynamic interaction between these forces, rather than attributing the quality of experience to a singular driver. This makes it a more comprehensive and robust theoretical framework for explaining the multifaceted nature of real-world conscious experience and its manifestation, particularly how our mental, physical, visual, and emotional concepts are integral to creating this reality. The Trillium model theorizes a complex, nonlinear, and iterative relationship among its three core elements. It moves beyond simple cause and effect chains to emphasize dynamic feedback loops as the primary mechanism for achieving optimal qualities of experience and creating our reality. The model explicitly suggests a nonlinear, iterative relationship among the reflective wave, consciousness filter, and probabilistic landscape. This means that progress in one area does not simply lead sequentially to the next, but rather can inform and necessitate adjustments in the others, thereby establishing a continuous feedback loop. This continuous feedback loop is considered critical, as the quality and efficiency of the feedback loops are posited as critical determinants of the velocity and success of one's conscious journey. Strong and effective feedback loops are theorized to enable rapid iteration and course correction, allowing the conscious process to adapt swiftly to new information and changing conditions, thereby influencing the mental, physical, visual, and emotional aspects of our created reality. The emphasis on nonlinear iterative relationship and continuous feedback loops strongly aligns the Trillium model with principles derived from complex adaptive systems theory. This suggests that the quality of conscious experience is theorized not as a predictable outcome of fixed pathways, but as an emergent property arising from the dynamic interactions and constant adaptation within the system. The model thus views conscious experience as a self-organizing process where outcomes are shaped by the system's capacity for continuous learning and adjustment. Optimal qualities of experience are theorized to arise from a synergistic balance among the three elements. This balance is crucial for preventing bottlenecks and ensuring adaptability throughout the conscious journey, and for creating a desired reality. Conversely, failure points in achieving desired experiences can often be traced back to an imbalance or disconnect between these three elements. Examples provided include brilliant ideas without resources or well-resourced projects without market demand, which when translated to the Trillium model of consciousness, could mean a past, reflective wave at -1, that is not processed with empathy and good intention. This can lead to a present, consciousness filter at 0, clouded by unresolved issues, making it difficult to project a positive future, probabilistic landscape at +1. This directly impacts the mental, physical, visual, and emotional quality of the reality we experience. A present, consciousness filter at 0, lacking empathy or good intention. This will lead to choices that increase the probability of negative future outcomes, probabilistic landscape at +1, regardless of past lessons. This also directly impacts the mental, physical, visual, and emotional quality of the reality we experience. The model's theoretical strength is significantly enhanced by its ability to explain why seemingly promising intentions or past learnings might not lead to desired outcomes, attributing such failures not just to external circumstances, but often to inadequate processing of the past, a limited present perception, or a fundamental lack of intentional future shaping. This capacity provides a diagnostic utility within the theoretical framework. By offering a clear causal link between a lack of balance or connection between elements and a diminished quality of experience, the Trillium model moves beyond a purely descriptive framework to one that offers predictive capabilities. It suggests that if certain conditions, such as synergistic balance and effective feedback, are not met, specific negative outcomes are likely, thereby strengthening its empirical testability and practical applicability as an analytical framework for conscious living and the creation of our reality. The Trillium model, as a theoretical hypothesis conceived by Dr. Andre Smith, carries significant implications for how consciousness and reality are conceptualized and studied. It provides a novel lens for analysis and suggests clear avenues for further theoretical development and empirical validation. The model's universality implies that its principles, particularly its focus on interconnected, interdependent elements and feedback loops, could potentially be applied to understand complex adaptive systems beyond just individual consciousness extending to social dynamics or collective consciousness. It offers a diagnostic lens to identify weaknesses in innovation ecosystems, whether at an organizational or broader systemic level, which, in the context of consciousness, suggests its utility as an analytical framework for assessing and improving personal well-being and interpersonal relationships across different scales and contexts. By emphasizing an integrated, holistic perspective, the model implies that a reductionist approach to conscious experience, focusing on one element in isolation, is theoretically insufficient and likely to lead to suboptimal results. The model's theoretical capacity to diagnose weaknesses and explain diminished qualities of experience inherently positions it as a prescriptive framework. If the model can identify imbalances or disconnects as causes of negative experiences, it logically follows that rectifying these issues or improving feedback mechanisms between its core